Alright guys, welcome back to Project GoodSpeed. I'm Jay, and the little hatchback here is still without a head and head gasket. So on today's video, hopefully we're going to go ahead and install a brand new head gasket. Now in the previous video, I actually showed you guys how to remove the head, and it's pretty straightforward. I'll put a link to the video here if you guys want to check it out. Now here we can see the old head. Those ports look full of carbon deposits, look at that. And as for the bottom of the block, I don't know, what do you guys think? Do those valves look okay to you? Seriously asking. I mean, it's a Honda, it's fine, right? And when I took it out, I actually had to clean it quite a bit because, I don't like working on, stuff that's really dirty, and it makes it really hard to, touch and move things around. So I cleaned out the intake and exhaust ports. I also cleaned out the remaining gaskets from the exhaust side and the intake side. And then I went ahead and I cleaned the outside of it as well, just because I didn't like the way it looked. I used a heavy-duty degreaser, and I think I got it pretty well, but check it out. This is what it looks like. Now, in a previous video, I actually replaced these exhaust and intake studs with Resto Tuners aftermarket OEM studs, and they actually held up pretty well because that video, I had one of these bolts holes was stripped out, and I had to use helicoil repair kit to actually fix it. So I'll put a link to that video if you guys want to check that out too. But today we're going to go ahead and try to install this back into the hatchback. Once I finished cleaning up the head, I was ready to actually start working on cleaning the mating surface. And let me tell you guys, that was a little bit of a process for me because I've never done that before, and trying to find videos on how to do it right without damaging the surface is a little challenging. Oh, this isn't the head. Oh, wait, is it? I bought a head gasket kit, yeah. So this apparently comes with all the gaskets for a lot of stuff. It comes with, I think these are the valve stem seals, yeah. Haven't replaced those ever. What is this, throttle body? I don't even know. Never seen those in my life. Oh, they just throw these in here. These are for the valve cover. These are for the spark plugs. And these are probably for, I don't know, doesn't matter. Didn't really buy them for these. I bought them specifically for these down here. The intake ones. And then this is the exhaust one, the important one. And then the one we're gonna really hate installing is the head gasket because I've never done it before. I don't know if I'm doing it right. So we're about to find out. Now, when I went ahead to clean the head, I started off by using some Pro Strength remover from Walmart, really. So I basically just poured some in a cup, and I used a shop towel to rub it on the surface to try to get any of the debris from the gasket off. And while it did help for some of the debris, it didn't really make a difference for the whole, if that makes sense. It really wasn't all that much of a help. So I also ended up using a blue Scotch-Brite pad to try to like loose off some of the tougher debris, and while this did help a little bit, it did leave a little bit of scratching on it, or it wasn't nothing too serious really, but the more serious part was it kept leaving fibers off, and they kind of were prone to getting stuck into the little ports, so I had to keep that vacuum handy just because I don't want any fibers getting stuck. And I'll show you guys here what I mean by like scratches. I don't think it's nothing too serious, but then again, what do I know? I'm not an expert, so I'm gonna go ahead and hope that this isn't an issue. And I mean, it looks better than before, but still not that great. You guys can see this area here. I don't know what that is, but it's not part of the gasket. I can't remove it, and I don't really want to try. So that's that. And then this part here, for some reason, has like metal shavings here. That's strange. It's like, look at that. What the heck is that? Oh, it's probably part of the gasket. I was using this little scraper for a bit. It's a little plastic one, but I used it up here on this one, and you can see it's scuffed up a little bit. Been using it up and down like that. I've been constantly replacing the little blades here with those little ones, and it does help at the start. It kind of helps get off any of the bigger chunks of the gasket, but overall, you kind of can't really use it for these small ones here. It doesn't really do anything. The Civic here is powered by Dreams, so hopefully, my hopes and dreams will keep this little Civic running and not blow a head gasket. Anyway, once I managed to go ahead and clean up one of the cylinder heads or ports, using a combination of these three things, right? Just the Pro Strength remover, Scotch-Brite pad, And I also used some carb cleaner just in case. I went ahead and just used a combination of all three of these for the rest of the head and got it as clean as I could get it. And I'll show you guys here what it looks like. It doesn't look that great. Now you can see here certain areas are kind of like scuffed up. That's due to the Scotch-Brite pad. And I got the least abrasive one, really. What is that? Man, this head is... this is not a good look for this little hatchback. I don't even know what this part is here. I think these are coolant ports, but why is it hot here? It does look like it's been burning or something. I'd imagine this head probably could use a good resurfacing. It is not smooth. This part right here is probably the smoothest on the entire surface. This is not smooth. Nothing around here is smooth. I did manage to clean the valves. I think they look a lot better than before, but I couldn't clean them all that well just because the brush can only do so much. Couldn't get this part to come off. This part either. You know, it's not perfect, but I'm hoping that it might, I might get away with it. I didn't end up using the heavy duty Scotch-Brite pad. I ended up using this lower grade one, and it's a lot more forgiving, and yet I still managed to get a few scrapes here. You guys can see, but we can go ahead and try with this one and see if this is any better, because I read online that this is the one you're supposed to use, but yeah, look at that. Now you get all these, just scratches it. And it's not really doing anything for yeah. So it looks the same, really. Like I said, these little grooves here are kind of a lost cause. I really should pay to get this surfaced, but I'm not gonna. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Let's give it a go with the heavy duty one. I'm gonna go ahead and spray some carb cleaner to hopefully get it to be a little less abrasive, but we're gonna give it another pass because it does feel a little bit smoother. Now, I am no expert, but from what I was told, or from what I read online, that the head needs to have a damn near perfect mating surface, or at least a flat one as close as possible, to avoid any further issues when the head gasket is installed. Two issues with that. One, best way to get it flat is to take it to a machine shop and let them do it. And two, this little Civic has these little dings on it right there. You can see when I run my nail around it. Yeah, they're little divots inside the aluminum block here. And both of these issues give me some concern about whether or not this is actually going to work out. Now, for now, that's going to be enough work on the head, and we're going to actually move on to the block. And I've already cleaned it, as you can see here. I did the best that I could with that thing, too. What I did is I used a plastic scraper with some carb cleaner, and I went ahead and just cleaned it all up as best as I could. I covered up the oil and coolant ports so I didn't get anything in them. And then I went ahead and used a Scotch-Brite pad to clean the entire mating surface. And I think I did a pretty good job because it looks pretty flat. And one thing I learned from cleaning the head is this stuff tends to kind of like shake loose the fibers inside of the Scotch-Brite pad. So it's a good idea to keep the vacuum handy. Yeah, see, okay. I mean, it's definitely cleaner. Very little pressure. Very, very little. Why am I using carb cleaner? I don't know. I use it to clean carbon buildup, and I'm kind of hoping that this will work. Damn, carb cleaner to the rescue. So that didn't look too bad. I could definitely tell the block is a little bit more forgiving on the type of pad you use, because the block is a lot sturdier and more resistant to scratching than the cylinder head is. I'm gonna go ahead and use the blue Scotch-Brite pad and see how that one looks on this half of pistons 4 and 3. And then I will see which one I'm gonna use for the rest of the cleaning. Damn it. Note to self. Make these longer. The blue one is definitely a little tougher because it is weaker. Not as, much scrubbing power as the green one, but definitely not as clean as this one. Obviously not perfect, as you can see. Some of the areas are, not as smooth and reflective as you would like them. It's got more of a matte finish to it. However, I'm not taking the whole block to a machine shop just so I can replace a head gasket. Now, once I finished cleaning the area around the block to make sure the gasket sits fine, I went ahead and I cleaned the piston heads here. as best as I could. Down there was a lot harder, so I didn't really clean it as best. And up here is a lot easier, so I cleaned these much more. You can see those are darker and these are lighter. And I just went ahead and cleaned that with a, brush. Nothing made of metal wire. I think it was like a nylon brush, and some carb cleaner. Just applying it and scrubbing it, applying it and scrubbing it, just repeat. And I did that all the way until I can get it as best as I could.
I don't even know if this is the right way to do this, but like I said, guys, this is a Honda. And if ever there was a car where you could fuck stuff up and still expect it to drive, this is it.
Then I went ahead and I did the same thing down here, only I didn't spray any carb cleaner in there. I just sprayed it on a towel and I rubbed it onto the surface, and then I just agitated with the brush, and I just kept repeating that over and over again. That's why it doesn't look as clean, because I can only get so much carb cleaner on the towel before it evaporates, and I lose its rubbing power. So I did that over and over again, and then I just sprayed the entire surface with carb cleaner to get any of the leftover residue or carbon buildup off of the entire surface. And then I sprayed some WD-40 on a shop towel and just coated the surface here, as well as the outer rim of the sleeve here. Same thing with this one. And hopefully that does enough to lubricate it on first start and I don't have any issues. Now I also did clean these ports here. You can see this is where the head studs go, and they used to be a lot dirtier, but I went ahead and I cleaned them as well. Every last one of these. I couldn't get this to come off. This is a dowel, but I could not get it to come off. So the same thing with the head. I didn't even bother. Hopefully that doesn't cause an issue, but what I did is I just went ahead and just covered the entire block and did one port at a time using a plastic sheeting with a hole cut out and some tape. I basically just taped this area closed, put the towel over it, the plastic sheet over it, and then taped it over again to make sure I had a nice seal. And I just went ahead and I just used a nylon brush to get in there and loose up any of the oil that was stuck in there. And once I did all that, I went ahead and I just sprayed some carb cleaner down there and just agitated it again and again. And I just did that over and over again through the entire port system here. And hopefully that did it.
This process is a little tedious. Yeah, it's still got oil in there.
When it says non-scratching, I expect no scratches, and that's not what I got. So I can't say that I did it all that well. And to be honest, only time will tell if I actually did it right. Because the head actually doesn't look all that great, if I'm being honest. I think it would have been better to take it to a machine shop to get it actually surfaced properly, because I think previous head gasket left some kind of dings engraved into the surface. And if I run my finger through it, I can hear it, and I can also feel it, that it's kind of like indented into the head. But, this is a Honda, and I'm kind of hoping that by just installing a new gasket, I'll be able to overlook any major issues, because this surface also doesn't look all that great, although it's definitely a lot smoother. And I probably shouldn't have touched it. I cleaned it with carb cleaner on the surface, so the head gasket should actually sit there perfectly, and we don't have any leftover residue. And I think on this one, you see this little divot here? I noticed that it also had it on the block here because of all the dirt kind of going around it. So I'm just going to go ahead based on that and install it. And I couldn't get these dowels to come off. I tried heat, and I was a little nervous of damaging anything, so I kind of just said, fuck it. We're not going to take it out. I figured any issues with the head that I have, they already existed. So if it was an issue, I would have noticed it already. Oh man, this is when, you need like a second set of hands or something. Hold on. Okay, so now that the head is installed, which is not that easy, I gotta admit. Second pair of hands is definitely helpful, because the timing belt over there will not engage if the head is just dropped down on there. What you have to do is this head has to be pried up, and then the timing belt can be installed. However, when I did that, I think I might have damaged the gasket. So, these things happen. Hopefully I didn't though. We're gonna go ahead and proceed as if I didn't. And yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and install everything else back on there, and hopefully I don't blow a head gasket. What can I say, guys? I'm not an expert by any means at this point. So we're gonna go ahead. Oh, I knew I fucked up. The headers. I don't have enough space to insert them from the bottom. Oh, damn. So as it turns out, I was being an idiot, and it did fit after all. It turns out I had to install this side first, then this side. I kind of had it laying flat and try to install that side first. This side goes in first. So we're gonna put the flat side of the exhaust gasket first. Flat side, and then the other side is kind of rounded. I'm kind of hoping that that's the side that goes over the exhaust here. Oh, let's go, it's that bottom one. I have to get them to get in there. Oh no. And as I expected, this little stud here was giving me some issues because it was a little crooked compared to the other ones. All of these went in fine, but this one gave me a little bit of an issue. So I just took a hammer to it and started to stop asking. And now we are ready to go ahead and install, or rather fasten down the head. Pretty close to finishing up here, guys. What I'm gonna do next is install the head bolts. And I've already cleaned these up, which is recommended. And I've also cleaned up the ports that are on the block. So all that's left to do now is just install them in the order that is appropriate, which I think is just the reverse of the removal process, but I'll take another look. And at the same time, you want to add some oil to the threads. Why? I don't know. But the manual says to add oil to the threads and the washer. So that's what we're gonna do. What I've been doing is I've been dumping the bolts into 10 weight 30 oil, which is the same oil that goes into the motor anyway, just like this, and into the block. So I did the thread and the head, and this is bolt number 9. I've done the rest. I kept all the bolts in order so that I didn't get them mixed up. I don't know if that's important or not, but why mess with it? So, and that's it. And these bolts will be fastened down in 4 steps. Technically 3, but you'll see what I mean. Actually, before I get started on that, I'm gonna actually go ahead and hand tighten them, because they're still pretty loose. All right, now we can get started. If I can find my torque wrench. Everything's been so chaotic in here. If I were a torque wrench, where would I be? Well, I know where I wouldn't be. Of course I'm not where I belong. Oh, idiot. First things first, 14 pounds. There we go. Boom. And then I'll put a little GIF on screen for you guys here, the order. And then we just repeat this whole process for 2 more steps. Step 2 is going to be 36 foot-pounds. Gotta switch over to the big boy. 36 foot-pounds. There it is. And then 49. Step 3, 49 foot-pounds. To 1. And then redo bolts 1 and 2 to 49. And then step 4 is to retighten both of these back to 49, just in case they got loose. Yep, they're a little loose, see? Done. So I've torqued down the head. Everything checked out. Nothing snapped on me, thank goodness. All that's left to do now is actually just install the intake gasket, the new distributor, put everything back on together, tighten these bolts. Okay, so I took down all the header bolts and 23 foot-pounds. I don't know if this is accurate, I'm gonna double check, but that's where it's at right now. And make sure everything is fastened properly, and then I gotta go ahead and install coolant. And I'm gonna do an oil change as well, just in case any of the gunk that I was cleaning got stuck into the oil ports. And at the same time, I have to bleed the system because, you know, the coolant, there's definitely air in there now, and I have to add more anyway. But that's gonna have to wait until the next video, because I also want to, you know, check my valves with these feeler gauges to make sure everything is still okay, because the oil in the intake kind of gave me a little bit of a issue to worry about. So I just want to make sure everything's okay and all my valves are where they should be. So stay tuned for the next video. So hopefully nothing goes wrong and I don't hear any knocking when I crank this little hatchback over. So until next time, guys, you know, take care and good speed.